whatever you need to do to make sure that you stay in your own lane, you're doing your own thing, you're focusing it on, what is that you want to achieve.
Welcome to Here's What I Learned. I'm your host, Jackie Hayes, System Strategist and Operations Support Specialist. My guest and I share the lessons we've learned about making value-based decisions, leading our teams in new ways, and rejecting traditional business advice when that advice doesn't align with the life we want to live. If you're a solopreneur or small business owner tired of the same old scale for the sake of scaling way of doing business, then you'll want to stick around and take a listen. So put in those earbuds, get your morning mile started, and enjoy the episode. On today's episode of Here's What I Learned, I'm talking with Rosemarie Callender. Rosemarie is a podcast coach and a launch strategist supporting women coaches and service providers to launch profitable podcasts that work for them and their business, especially when they aren't working. I love this conversation with Rosemarie, and I think you will too. So take a listen. Welcome, Rosemarie. I am so happy that you're here with me today. Can you answer a quick question for me? Actually, it's probably not going to be a quick answer, but what does it mean to you to do business your way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. So for me, I am 3.5 years, goodness gracious, in business now. And I spent the majority of that time doing what everyone else told me to do on social media. And so I'm in this beautiful place now where it really looks like building the business that I want to build, whether it's, not working with as many retainer clients, like really leaning into my strengths and what works best for me, how I like to show up in my business and my personal schedule.
I think your definition matches up very, very well with mine. How did you go about discovering what works for you, your strengths when it comes to your business? What was that process like?
Yeah, a lot of tears were involved. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of frustration. As I said, it was probably 2.5 years where I was doing what the coaches, we're all on Instagram being bombarded with so many different messages. And when I actually started out as a virtual assistant. And then within 3-4 months, I pivoted into podcast management. And even back then, it was very much, I was told about having that monthly recurring revenue. And so I stuck with my podcast management clients. I did a launch here and there, knew that I loved launches. My background, by the way, is as an executive assistant at C-suite board level. And so I was very used to, working to deadlines, keeping things organized, being one step ahead of like my bosses, that kind of stuff. And managing projects, events. And so I saw podcast launches very much similar to that. Whereas podcast management just felt very alien. It felt very stressful. I had like you join me, you would be a client for 3 months and then we would move to month to month. And I just found for me, and I know any sales coach listening might be like, that's a you problem. But back then I just felt as though they're all left when the 3-month contract expired and they all said it was down to, budget. And I just found that super, super stressful, but I stuck it out. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm exhausted. I'm just going to do things my way. And I think that was near the end of 2022. I'd already pivoted and started specializing in podcast launches then, but I took it up a notch and decided to do podcast launch VIP days. I was finding back then, I was doing like 6 to 8 week launches, and I'd worked with quite a few clients up until this point, and there were some clients that were getting stuck. You have a podcast yourself. We, as podcast hosts, go through similar mindset stuff, especially when it comes to starting a podcast. And some of those things were coming up for a lot of my clients, and it was keeping them stuck moving through. And so the 6-week process turned into 10 weeks, 12 weeks. And it was just getting super, super stressful. And so I decided, why not? I love launches. Why not take the VIP day model, which traditionally is when you focus on something specific, right? The people that teach VIP days, I learned from, oh, I forgot, Sarah Massey. And she taught like you pull one thing from your normal process. But I decided to, I'm done. I'm going to do this my way. And I'm going to take that same 6 week process and I'm going to condense it into a VIP day. Except you might be listening and thinking, how? How is that possible? But I want you to think it's an 8 hour VIP day, but it's spread over 2 weeks. And there's like three or four different phases, and the client doesn't, they just go through each phase at a time. Because I found that clients were looking to the end rather than focusing on where they were right now in their launch process. So when you look to the end, you get overwhelmed, right? Rather than just focusing on where you are now. And I've been doing that now for about 18 months. And it's worked really, really well. I'm super, super happy. Some of the benefits, of course, is more time on my calendar because I'll only do like 2 or 3 a month. Um, and I'll litter in some strategy sessions here and there, but more time on my calendar, which means that I've got more time to speak to lovely people like yourself, like to take part in summits, to host bundles, to watch Netflix if I so choose, right? So that's a beautiful thing. And yes, some might think, oh, well, you're looking for clients every month, but I felt like I was doing that anyway with my monthly retainer clients. And it's interesting because I don't know if this is linked in any way. I do work with a very small, like literally a handful, 4 or 5 retainer clients a month. But I'm at this point where I've been with one for 2 years, I've been with the other for 1 year, and the two others were referred from the first client. So they'll probably stick around for a while. So I really do encourage business owners to, do what feels right to you because you're just miserable. And we didn't start our business to be miserable. And what I've learned is what might work for that person who's saying that you should do X, Y, Z might not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest lesson, and I'm in such a happier place for it. And I'm working with my dream clients. Like since I pivoted to VIP days, I've dialed in my messaging. I'm really focused. The podcast focuses like on my expertise so much more. I feel more confident, right? Nothing but positive stuff has come out from me making that decision. I absolutely have no regrets.
That's awesome. And I think it's really funny because you mentioned how everybody tells you to do retainer clients. And I've kind of seen online, yes, there are the people who say you need retainer clients, you need retainer clients. That way you're not marketing all the time. And then there's the other people who are like, you're going to cap your revenue potential if you do that.
Yeah.
So don't go with retainer clients or don't charge hourly, charge by package deal. There's
Mhm.
just so many conflicting discussions out there. But like you, I had retainer clients. I've had retainer
Mm.
clients. I currently have retainer clients, but there's
Yeah,
no guarantee that they are going to stay with you forever and ever.
exactly.
So you're still
Exactly.
going to have to be out there marketing yourself in case you lose a retainer client. And yeah, there is a point at which like I'm going to be maxed out. And the only way I will be able to continue to serve clients is to bring on my own help and have kind of like a boutique agency situation. And some people
Hmm.
don't want to have to do that. Some people don't
No.
want to have people under them. So everybody does really just, you can listen to all the options out there, but don't see it as a way of you have to do. It's just all the options. You have a menu
Yeah,
and choose what sounds best for you.
absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of new business owners, not that they go wrong, but a lot of us new to the online space are literally new, right?
You're right.
Um, there are some of us who, you know, did maybe they're in marketing in the online space. They used to do marketing. Like I was an EA, so I thought I'd transition into the VA. Wasn't really lighting me up, etc., etc. But unless you've been to business school and you've really studied business, no one really prepares you. And so you really do seek that advice and guidance from those who seem to be killing it on platforms like social media, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you is that you hang out. And I just found that to really slow down. Of course, these are all lessons, no regrets, but really slow down my business growth because I was seeing, as you said, people were sharing their opinions. You can do it this way, you can do it this way. And then your head starts to spin. And so if you're in that sort of 6 month, 1 year journey, I just really encourage you to, or even earlier, really encourage you to, yes, XYZ has said this, XYZ has said that, but what works best for me? What business model works best for me? Because it really is about your strength. There's so many factors that fit into which business model works best for you. And like you said, no, well, it depends, right? Because we could speak to someone else and they would say, yep, I've had all my retainer clients for years now. And I'm like, yes, I am so happy for you. But that doesn't necessarily work for me. I do prefer projects and launches are projects, or maybe like I'm working on a new offer that'll be 3 months. That's kind of projecty, but longer term. You just need to think about what works best for you, really.
Right. Yeah. And I found over time, I'm in my third year of business.
Mm,
And for me, it's a hybrid of the two. I like to have a few, retainer clients or a
yeah.
couple, depending on the number of hours. And then I like projects because I'm a managed gen. I like variety. I need new things on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
adding in those project based things, whether they're a strategy call, a VIP day, or a short term project, gives me the security, quote unquote, of a retainer
Hmm.
client feeling. So I know that, for right now, at least I know that they're with me for another month kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But also I'm meeting new people. I'm learning about new businesses. I'm learning about new people. So it gives me a little bit of both of those. But
Yeah.
there is something that you said that I kind of laughed at internally because obviously I don't want to have to cut that out of my editing. But you talked about we look to people who are killing it on social media,
Mm,
and we don't even realize when we're new that some of the people that are doing some of the best work and are
mhm.
bringing in the revenue that they want to be bringing in, whatever that goal is for them, are not on social media because they're busy doing business.
Yeah.
And they're getting their clients through referrals. Like you mentioned, two of your retainer clients are from somebody else.
Yeah.
100% of my business has been referrals. It has not come from Instagram. It has not come from Facebook. It has been
Hmm.
somebody talking about me or me meeting somebody at a networking event. So relying on social media to gauge who is successful in business isn't necessarily your best route.
No, absolutely not. And I think we've been in business around the same length of time. And I think that realization dawns on you maybe after a couple years or so. But yeah, I wish that someone had put that on a billboard somewhere when I joined the online space because it's super distracting. You see people sharing, it's the highlights, isn't it? It's more Instagram that I have a problem with rather than the other platforms because I think that's the platform where you see people sharing, I worked 1 hour this week and here I am on the beach and I made 50K. And you're there thinking, oh my goodness, that's me. I want to be this person. I want to be on the beach and only work an hour a week. But there's so many different things that go into that. Like how long were you in business? Do you have a team or you're a sales coach? And so you've nailed in your sales strategy. You know what I mean? There's so
Yeah.
many different factors that we don't think about. And so yes, I think you need to be very, very careful about whose messages you're tapping into because not everyone is transparent with their achievements. And those who are really killing it, like you said, are not that they're not bragging about it, but they're busy scaling their businesses.
Yeah, I always, whenever I used to work exclusively in launch spaces for group programs, coaching group programs. And I always talk that when somebody says to you they had a 100K launch, you have to then ask them, what was their actual profit on that? They could have
Yeah.
made 100K, but they may have only been walking away with 2,000 to pay their bills. And
Yeah.
if they tell you that they just made 50K this week and they're laying on the beach, but what are they making next month? That
Hmm.
50K may have been from a launch and that needs to last them the next 6 months. So in reality, that's a great number, and kudos to them for being able to do that. That's still a lot of revenue for a launch, but it's not that they're bringing in 50K every single week.
Hmm. Yeah. Some people are, but I found that those people aren't. They're not shouting about it. They're not shouty.
Right.
Um, but yes, the 50K could be so, like, how many of those people are paying you over an extended 12 months, right? There's so many different factors. But when you're first coming in and you're new, you're very like starry-eyed, almost like their celebrity status, and
Right.
you look up to them. But I think it takes a while for all of us to realize, no, that is not it. That is not what I envisioned they meant at all.
Yes.
And so I think it's really important. I think a big part of why I'm where I am today as well is just being able to put the blinkers on, especially when it comes to social media. Everyone's a little bit different. But I try not to look at what people in my space is doing. I mute or I block. Whatever you need to do to make sure that you stay in your own lane, you're doing your own thing, you're focusing it on, what is that you want to achieve, because looking at what other people are doing is super, super distracting. Again, not to bash Instagram, but I find that's a platform that really makes me, I can't speak for anyone else, makes me question. Like, you wake up in a good mood, you open the messaging, makes you start questioning everything you've ever done in your business. And then you've got to kind of work or coach yourself back out of it. So yeah, I think putting those blinkers on and just kind of focusing on what it is that you want to do, what lights you up, is super, super important.
Yeah, I sometimes laugh because there are times when Instagram, it is my favorite platform to be on.
Mm,
Um, but I have curated a list of people that I follow, none of whom are in the same industry as me. And they are people that I consider friends or people who are in the same fields that I are type of clients I want to work with. And so I'm listening to what they have to say. But there are times when I open up Instagram, or used to, and that comparison trap and what am I doing with my life was very much like opening up a dating
yeah.
app and being like, okay,
Yes.
nobody's
Yes.
matching me. Nobody loves me.
No one swiped right. Yeah.
Exactly.
100%. I totally get that analogy. And then then you just go downhill. Like, I've been there so many times. I don't really Instagram. I finally got to a place where Instagram is if I'm in the mood, but I do hang out on Threads. I found Threads to be a lot better. I don't find that pressure. I don't find that I'm looking at other people and questioning myself. I see it as WhatsApp, just a massive group chat on WhatsApp, and people are in their individual rooms having conversations. And yeah, Instagram is a am I in the mood to post the stories today?
Yeah.
Which is, it's nice to finally be there, because like you said earlier, I have never ever got a client directly from Instagram until last September, October, when I decided I was going to stop marketing my business on Instagram. And then lo and behold, someone reached out about a VIP day. I've not had anyone since, but yeah, all of my clients come from referrals, or the top two is podcasting. So whether it's my own podcast or having amazing conversations like this one, those are my top three. But I felt, because again, the shoulds, right? I got this message that you had to be on social media. And so I kept trying to crack the Instagram code. And now I've just given up, and it feels really, really good. Like, I don't need Instagram to grow a successful business. Whatever success looks like to me, it might be different for other people.
Mhm.
And I feel so much better for it. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say that enough. I think the important thing, like we've talked about, the whole theme of this conversation is really leaning into what feels good to you. People's messaging might draw you in, but you still have control. You still have like you still have the opportunity, the chance to take what they say at what's that phrase? Face value and
Hmm.
decide whether or not it's the right fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Nowadays, when I hop on Instagram, it's to see what so and so is up to, if they've posted anything. But mostly, I hop on just over to my personal account now, where I follow all the same people who go to the same climbing gym, so I can see what they're up to, or what Juniper Fox is doing, or what
Yeah.
silly meme one of my friends sent me, because that's how we communicate, is via meme on Instagram.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
it's so much more fun to do that on Instagram than it is for me to like spend all this time trying to communicate my message on a platform where I
Mhm.
am one of billions of people. So I just went back to the 9 grid this past weekend. So
Yes, I saw
nine
it.
static
It
posts,
looks
and
good.
oh, it was so much of a relief. And like my podcast episodes, I'm still going to be doing feed posts or reels.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that pressure to get on and perform on Instagram, because that's, for me, it felt like performance, because
Yeah.
that's not in my wheelhouse. So,
Yeah. And it's not, I don't know about you, but I wasn't really even on social media. Like I had all my accounts on all the different platforms, but like Facebook was very much catching up with the news. Instagram, I posted a couple snaps. I think when I started my business, the last time I'd posted on Instagram was 2013. So like a whole 7, 8 years prior. And so I love that phrase. I felt like I was a performing monkey. And that's not what I started my business. I thought it would be, I didn't think it would be easy. I'm a hard worker. I'm very disciplined, ambitious. But yeah, adding in the Instagram to it just made it feel not fun. And that's something that I really believe that we should be doing in business. Like our businesses should be fun. We shouldn't be. I remember years ago hearing that I don't know if it's advice or a phrase about marketing should be 80% of your business. And I think
mhm.
I was a podcast manager back then. I was like, how? How am I supposed how am I supposed to spend 80% of my time? And I was definitely overworking. I was definitely working all the hours. There was a part of it that I still had my 9 to 5 before I was let go because of COVID. And I think back now and I'm like, yes, I can do that now, but I still don't want to. Like I wanna connect with business owners. I want to be able to just do my 4 hours every morning, right?
Mhm.
That's the business model I've been able to create. And that will look different for our listeners, but just feel empowered to do what you want to do. Just remember, like even me sharing my expertise on threads, it will repel people who it doesn't land with, and it will draw in people who it does land with. And that's what you want. I
Mhm.
don't want people to be like, sometimes people like to get argumentative in the comments on threads. I'm like, dude, just go away. This is not a debate. If it doesn't land with you, that's okay.
Right.
But that's taken me some time to have that mindset. Whereas before I was like, oh, what everyone is saying on my Instagram feed is gospel. And then can you imagine your head, all those messages from different people, because we're all trying to stand out, right? So they
Mhm.
have a different point of view, they have polarizing beliefs. And I just felt like my head was going to combust.
Yeah.
Like it's not like oh, such and such said this. And then you're trying to implement what everyone says, and it doesn't work at all. So just really leaning into what you want to do and just putting those blinkers on. It's so, so important.
Very much so. Yeah. I've heard that 80% marketing advice too. And I
Yeah.
was the same way. I'm like, well, when am I
Oh.
making money? Like,
So 20% I'm supposed, but think about it. If you're marketing 80%, there's client work, there's client onboarding, there's, I don't even know, there's a bunch of other stuff that I can't think about.
I know. Yeah, I was
How do
always
I
like,
do that? 3% here, 2% there.
you
But
have to
it's
do it by
focus.
working 100 hours a week, because that's the
It's
only way anything else will get done.
exactly, which is not why we started our business. It defeats the
No,
point
exactly.
totally.
Exactly. Exactly. One of the things you said is attracting people that resonate with you and don't
Mhm.
resonate with you. And I think when we first start our business, one, we don't always know
Yeah.
like who we want to work with, but we also have that scarcity mindset of I have to work with everybody because I have to make money. And that doesn't necessarily serve us or the success of our business. And I think we figured that out. But
Yeah.
how did you go about learning who it is that you like to work with?
Yeah, so I've always worked with women coaches, even from as a VA. I loved the idea of helping women who helped women. I suppose you could say that as an EA, I'm also a helper, so it made sense. But to your point, I think it's trial and error, right?
Hmm.
Every client who wasn't a dream client taught me something. And I took that lesson and I improved my onboarding, I improved my process, uh, it even improved my confidence, if that makes sense. And so I think it's just, what's that phrase? I can't think of it. Something like the Hall of Fire. I've got like, you just got to go through the fire to get through to the other side. I think it's just a journey that we all have to go through. But also the confidence piece is really important. Um, and I think my podcast, I don't know about you, Jackie, but my podcast definitely helped me to dial in my messaging, but also dial in who I wanted to work with because my podcast is my client acquisition tool.
Mm-hmm.
People listen to the podcast and they reach out. And I found that all my VIP day clients have been dreams, absolute dreams. And the majority of them, it's funny because it was a podcast listener who reached out Thanksgiving. I will always remember this. Thanksgiving of 2022. I've been listening to your podcast. You've really given me the push. I want to get started now, but it's midnight and I've got to cook Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. And she kept messaging me and watching my stories for like 2 weeks straight. And then she DM'd me and said, "Do you do a fast launch?" And that's how my VIP, I was already, lingering. I'd bought Sarah's course like a whole year before, but again, the shoulds. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do a VIP day. No one else is doing a VIP day in the way that I want to do it. Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how the VIP day was born. And every VIP day client since then has been perfectly aligned. But yeah, I think it's just a process we go through, learn from the clients who didn't work quite as you wanted, make those tweaks wherever you need to make those tweaks. And most importantly, oh my goodness, listen to your gut. Like a lot of the clients that I've worked with that didn't align, I ignored, especially early doors, right? As early entrepreneurs, we ignore, and as women, we ignore that gut instinctive, like listen to it. Like I'm very much in a place where if I get any red flags, especially with my VIP day, you need to, it's very, I wouldn't say it's intense, but it's very structured. So if you're someone who you need to think a lot, the VIP day is not going to be right for you. Maybe my group program is going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because of my podcast, they already know
Mm-hmm.
who I am, what I'm about. I believe that you don't need to grow your business or you don't need social media to grow your business. And so I'm already attracting those people. So
Yeah.
I think just roll with the punches, learn from the lessons, and most importantly, just lean into that, into being becoming more confident. And I think that comes with time.
Yes.
I think that especially as when like we've got the feminine energy and the masculine energy, which is a whole different podcast episode. But I think it does come with time, and that confidence comes with time as well. And when it hits, you're like, ah, that makes total sense now. Yes, yes, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to be, and it just feels right.
Yep. I will say one of the things that has been one of the biggest confidence boosters for me is being a guest on somebody's podcast
Yeah,
because I'll go back and listen to the episode and be like, damn, I know what I'm talking about.
I am an expert.
I am an expert. I forget this. And then I listen to this podcast and I'm like, nope, I know what I'm talking about. I am an
Yeah.
expert. I do help people in my area. So if there's anybody who's like been struggling with that, get on a podcast, be a guest
Yeah.
and shine, because especially if you have a good host, they're really good at bringing things out of you
hmm
to help you
hmm
shine. So, because they want a great episode. And so they want to make sure that you're shining as well. So,
Yeah. No, I would agree. Guesting on podcasts is definitely, I think every business owner should be doing that. It's really great for visibility. It really helps you. I talk about podcasts being your stage. And so if you dream of doing a TED talk or speaking at big conferences, like your starting point, the first step on that ladder really is a podcast. And I know hosting your own isn't for everyone. There's a lot that goes into it, but guesting on podcasts is so easy. You just find aligned shows, pitch yourself, or, maybe you start with someone you already have a relationship with. You have an awesome conversation for 30, 45 minutes. And yeah, with the right host, it could be a really, really great conversation. And then obviously you have your freebie that you can share at the end to drive listeners back, where you can nurture them in your email list. So that's definitely a really good strategy.
yep. To wrap things up, what would Rosemarie of today tell
Ooh.
Rosemarie on day one of your business?
Ooh, day one of my, but I think we've talked a little bit about it. So, I mean, there's a few things. So, I don't know about day one, but definitely month one would be around leaning into what feels good for me, feeling as though I can grow the business that I want, design the business that I want based on all those factors that we talked about, rather than what someone that I don't even know, but I am treating as God has
Mhm.
told me on social media. That's a big one. I would also, it's so funny, we didn't talk about this, but I did have the presence of mind of working with a mindset coach in my first month, but I was very stupid. I was very, not stupid, ignorant
Mm.
in thinking, naive in thinking that, oh, I just needed to work with her for 4 weeks and I'll be good. Oh, whatever. So, yeah, Rosemary now, talking to Rosemary back in September 2020 would have been like, continue with the mindset coach for much longer, because that is such a huge factor. And I think it's because I was so confident in my corporate career, right? I could leave one job and walk right into well, before COVID, walk into another one. And so, but starting your own business is a whole different kettle of fish. And so that confidence, I didn't even know the phrase imposter syndrome until I started my business and I started seeing this phrase come. I'm like, oh, what is this? So yes, definitely mindset. And I think a third one would be messaging. Like, I probably not day one or month one, but definitely in the first year, I really downplayed the importance of messaging. I was like, what? Even I paid people to teach me about messaging, and I showed up and I was like, oh no, whatever. So coming back, yeah, I would definitely talk about, tell myself to really focus on mindset, messaging, leaning into what I want to do. And I suppose that piece would be working with someone. I don't regret any of the investments I've made coaching wise,
Mhm.
but working with someone who aligns with what I want to achieve beyond 10K cash months. Because again, back then that phrase was bandied about. I was like, yeah, I want 10K cash months. And so I got a little bit like blinded by that phrase. But going back, I would definitely work with coaches who are building the business that I wanted to build. So
Excellent.
that would be that. I just remember that mindset piece. That's so funny. Yeah, I just need to do a course for
4 weeks is plenty.
4 weeks. 4 weeks is plenty.
I
Whatever.
haven't built up a
Years later.
lifetime of things in my head, but 4 weeks should cover it.
Yeah, Yeah, totally naive.
Rosemarie, where can the listeners find you?
Yeah, so I hang out on my podcast. That's where, my best content, the best Rosemary shows up. So head on over to your favorite listening app, search for the podcast to amplify show. But of course, if you want to have a more like two-way conversation, I invite you to DM me at Too Busy to Podcast on Instagram.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much. This has been an awesome, awesome conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Here's What I Learned. You can find the show notes and transcripts at jackiehayes.online/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and follow the show. Be sure to find me on Instagram at JackieHayes_OBM and let me know what you learned from this episode. Catch you next time on Here's What I Learned.